Welcome to episode 33 of It's 5 o'clock here, which means it's day, I don't know, I've lost track. It's day a lot of quarantine. So it is Sunday, I do know that, and it is time for us to make a drink because we have to get rid of all those Sunday scaries because we are rolling into Monday, which means it's another week of it being just like every other day that it's been for the past 9 weeks. So let's take the edge off with a particularly cool cocktail that I was inspired by from the folks at Royal Foundry Craft Spirits in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So they are a craft distillery in Minneapolis, and I actually really love how they have bicycles on this. This is very English. But they're inspired by all of the recipes out of the UK, the ways that they do things in the UK surrounding spirits. And as everyone here knows, I am a gin fanatic. So when they asked me to review this bottle for Bourbon Banter, I thought, yeah, absolutely. I love gin. And so please stay tuned to bourbonbanter.com, where I write about bourbon and gin and all other fun things for the full review on this. I will say, so on the back, it gives you some tasting notes. This is also a great way if you're trying to figure out what new kind of gin to try. A lot of them do have what the major notes are, what the major botanicals are on the back. So if you know, for example, you don't really like anisette, then maybe steer clear from one that says anisette on it. I personally like it. So this one on the back, it says, the botanicals are juniper, coriander, ginger, blackberry, lemon peel, star anise, and vanilla. And so today in this particular cocktail, it comes from one of their craft original cocktails called The Professor, which features gin, a rosemary simple syrup. So we'll talk about making infused simple syrups here in just a bit. And then it has something called Nordic bitters. And Nordic bitters is this cool digestive, I guess it could also be an aperitif. It could be whatever you want it to be whenever you want to drink it. But it has honey and chamomile notes, and it's a really neat product, but I don't have any. So today we are going to make my version of the Professor, which I call the Adjunct. It works just as hard, you just have to pay less for it. But ching, all of my Professor friends, and especially the adjunct ones, or those who were adjuncts at one point, will certainly appreciate that. So let's get down to it. First, we're gonna start in a mixing glass because we just have the sugar syrup, we have a little bit of bitters, we have some honey, and then we have our lovely gin. So that means we don't really need to make an emulsion. We don't want a lot of dilution from our ice. We just want these things to kind of gently hug together. They can hug because they don't have to socially distance. So let's go. 2 ounces of our gin, and you can use any gin, but I am using this one right here, and I do say you should try it. The full review will go live on bourbonbanter.com. Like I said, I feel like very QVC saying that. Please tune in to bourbonbanter.com to read the full review. 2 ounces into our mixing glass. So the notes that I get off of this immediately though, and some people are like, oh yeah, tasting whiskey, that makes sense. Ew, tasting gin, it just tastes like Christmas trees. BS, total crap, not true. Gins are super layered, they're very complex, and this one, I'm getting just a lot of lemon off of the nose. So there we go. Now, our next ingredient is the one that takes just a little bit more work, and that's our rosemary simple syrup. Super, super simple. It's a simple syrup. So take 1 cup of water, pop it in a pot, boil it, put in 1 cup of sugar, any kind of sugar. You can just use regular old white sugar. You can use fancy sugar, doesn't matter. I actually think that for something that you're trying to pull herbal notes out of, you should use a sugar that doesn't necessarily have those really molassesy tastes to them. So that's why I like using white sugar, because it just has that pure sweetness to it. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take fresh rosemary sprigs, courtesy of my corner market. You can also grow these, you can purchase them at the store. And then you pop it in there at full boil for about a minute. Then you're gonna wanna let it set and steep like a tea in that pot for about half an hour, because you don't want it to get like really like woodsy and bitter. Remember, you just want those good, nice rosemary herbal notes. It's been, like I said, day, I don't know what now of quarantine. So then what you're gonna do is then you're gonna strain that out and you're gonna get this beautiful color syrup out of it. But don't toss that rosemary that has been in the pot. Now, let's pause. 1/3 of an ounce of our rosemary syrup in here. Don't throw out those rosemaries in the pot. All y'all know, I hate throwing stuff away. I like trying to use everything that I have. And so what you do is you take that rosemary and you put it on a tray, and like you can use parchment, you can use foil, just to kind of, you know, let it spread out. And I'll show you what that looks like. And then you're gonna wanna cover it with more sugar. And so this, now the little bits of sugar down here, you can actually save that and use it to, you can rim glasses with it, you can sprinkle it on top of stuff. It's gonna be a rosemary sugar, neato. And then these, remember we put a little bit more of regular sugar on top. These you can use for garnishes, and we will do it shortly. Don't throw it away. All right, you're like, we need a drink. Okay. Then, to get that honey taste that we're not getting out of the Nordic bitters, but we want to make sure that we have that imbued in our glass, I'm going to take 1/4 of a teaspoon. My cute little octopus. No, it's a squid. 1/4 of a teaspoon. This is actually New Morning Farm raw honey. Local honey. Local honey's great, so support all of those farmers. And just because honey is just like so sticky, normally what I do is just... Yay. Okay, now we're going to do a dash of Peychaud's bitters. And the reason we're going to do that is because Peychaud's is a little bit, I feel like it's a little rounder, a little sweeter than like an Angostura. It's still going to be an aromatic bitter, so it's going to have those bitter notes that the Nordic bitters had. But oh, what do I always say? Always check the top of your thing, the top of your bottle, to see if it has the little pourer on it, because otherwise this would have been a disaster. Because one time I did that with orange bitters and it was very unpleasant. So I actually had already decanted a little bit of the Peychaud's into this little eyedropper. So if you have an eyedropper style bitters, essentially one little squirt, that's gonna be about a dash. All right, now we're gonna pop a lot of ice in here. And I finally got my tabletop ice maker. I'm so excited. It's very, very exciting business. So we're gonna give this little sucker a stir. I wish I had a crown. I really wanted a crown for this one because it's the Royal Foundry Spirits. And they say we're a Minneapolis distillery with a British spirit. And I was like, well, it's royal. I must have a crown. So I wore something with a little bit of blue in it. You know, blue, the royal color, the color of lapis lazuli. Well, I guess blue and purple, right? I don't know at this point. It's time to put this in the glass. So I'm gonna use a coupe for this, which is also a little bit different than the way that they prepare it at Royal Foundry, because they also have a cocktail bar too. So please go hang out with them once all of this business is over. So Hawthorne strainer on top of our mixing glass. And look how like beautiful pink that is from the Peychaud's. It's just, it looks kind of almost like pink champagne. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna dump things into the sink. And I just want you guys to see this right here. And then we're going to take our beautiful candied rosemary and lay it just right across the top here. And then we're going to take a lemon peel and just express it just slightly across the top, because I do want to try to pull out those lemony notes of this particular gin. And most gins really will have a little bit of citrus notes to them. A lot of them do. Sometimes it comes from, you know, dried citrus peels. Sometimes it can come from lemon balm. I've even seen ones that have lemon grass as one of the botanicals. And I mean, lemon, it's one of those things that it works with anything you're gonna do with gin. Even if it's a straight up martini, I mean, amazing. All right, so we're just going to, this is kind of an old piece of lemon. And that is an adjunct. Cheers, everyone. My Sunday's better already.